the 144,000. Hence, when the net was first sent forth in 1844, it was for the gathering of the 144,000, which it still vaguely believes it is after, but which the shepherd's rod proves it has already gathered. And as the 144,000 are first fruits, showing that second fruits must follow and further, as the net has through the years gathered of every kind, good, the 144,000 and bad alike. Therefore, the net has to be drawn ashore, and the good gathered into vessels, and the bad cast away, before the second fruits, the great multitude, Revelation 7 verse 9, Isaiah 66 verse 20, can be gathered, Revelation 18 verse 4. That two paragraphs, in reality, brothers and sisters, if you will not concentrate and dig deeper, you cannot be able to grasp the true meaning. Now, first, that gospel net in the heavenly sanctuary represent a book. There must be a book in the heavenly sanctuary called gospel net. By which, in that gospel net, inscribe the names of the bad fish and the good fish. Of course, the good fish, the righteous, the bad fish, the wicked. And according to the shepherd's rod, in 1844, that book represented by the net had been empty. So the term empty can easily be understood that this book, all the names of the wicked as well as the righteous, had been blotted out. So, empty. All the names had been erased, delete, blot out. Now, concerning the bad fish, according to the parable in Matthew 13, their names had been blotted out into the book represented by the net, and then thrown again to the sea. Or in other words, this net represents the gospel. What is the difference between the book represented by the gospel net and the book represented by the Lamb's Book of Life? It's very important to understand, because the book represented by the net cannot be the book represented Lamb's Books of Life, not sealed with 7 seals, because the Lamb's Book of Life, not sealed with 7 seals, it will not be empty. The names of the righteous will be retained in this book. But there is a similarity, because the names that had been written in the book represented by the net is bad fish and good fish. Whereas in the Lamb's Book of Life, brothers and sisters, Lamb's Book of Life, not sealed with 7 seals, the names written in this book, brothers and sisters, is illustrated by foolish virgins and wise virgins. So here, bad fish, good fish. Here, foolish virgins, wise virgins. Let us go first to the book represented by the gospel net. So, I would like to read 1 TG. One TG number 21. page 12. 1TG 21, page 12. A net cast into the sea naturally catches good and bad, small and large fish. But fish, like all other living creatures, move in families, each species with its kind. And so each time the net is cast, it catches families of fish. So it is that the gospel net in many instances naturally brings in families and relatives all in one catch. That is, as parents accept the gospel of Christ, along with them are often brought the children and even relatives and friends. So, what is the illustration of the net? Who are they that had been inscribed into this book represented by the gospel net? For example, it is only the father and the mother that had been, for example, Seventh-day Adventists, before they were baptized. That is an example. Before they were baptized. Then later on, someone give them study. The couple, the husband and the wife, had been converted that the Sabbath is the rest day of the Lord. Both of them accepted the message. Now, but their children, for example, they have 5 children. In reality, they don't understand. They did not understand yet the concerning Sabbath truth or what are those messages that have been accepted by their parents. But in necessity, since they were under the jurisdiction of their parents, when their parents goes to the church during Sabbath, the children also goes to the church during Sabbath. So that is why there is a book represented by the net. Because it catches by families. Unlike with this book represented by the Lamb's Book of Life. Now, for example, the husband and wife, their names had been inscribed in the book represented by the net, as well as all their children, because their children goes to the church also every Sabbath. They are obliged because their parents are Sabbath keepers. More particularly if they were still, their age is under the jurisdiction of their parents. But in the Lamb's Book of Life, not sealed with 7 seals, the only names that had been written into this book is the husband and the wife. Their children have not been written in this book. Because the only one to be written into the Lamb's Book of Life, not sealed with 7 seals, are those who accept the message. They understood the message, they accept the message, then they have been baptized, therefore their names been inscribed into the Lamb's Book of Life, not sealed with 7 seals, but not their children, only the husband and wife. Their children were not written here in the Lamb's Book of Life, not sealed with 7 seals. But their children had been inscribed into the book represented by the gospel net, as well as their parents also inscribed into this book, the gospel net. But who are they? The foolish virgins. The foolish virgins are those who accepted, for example, since 1844, the gospel at that time must be the third angel's message. Now, for example, the two the couple, husband and wife, when they become Seventh-day Adventists, they accepted the message. So their names had been inscribed into the Lamb's Book of Life, not sealed with 7 seals. But what makes them wise virgin and what makes them foolish virgin? They become foolish virgin because at the time they accepted the message, then they had been baptized to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, but they stopped progressing. B.T. Hotep says, they did not double their talents as illustrated in the parable of Jesus Christ. They stopped right there. The message that they accepted from the day they was baptized, yes, their names have been inscribed into the Lamb's Book of Life, not sealed with 7 seals, but they failed to progress. Therefore, they were unworthy to be retained into this Lamb's Book of Life. They needed to be blotted out. But let us focus first to the book represented by the net. To repeat again, according to the Shepherd's Rod, in 1844, this book became empty. Not only the names of the wicked had been blotted out, but as well as the righteous. The difference, when the names of the wicked had been erased into this book, it was thrown into the sea, meaning book represented by the sea. But at the time when they accepted the gospel, their names will be blotted out in this book represented by the sea, and then transferred to the gospel net. Transferred to the gospel net. So that's what it means by the net had been thrown into the sea. So those that had been written into this book accepted the gospel, meaning the net caught them and then taken out from the sea. So therefore, their names have been blotted out and then written into the book represented by the gospel net. So, in 1844, you remember, there is 1 year. Let's go back again to the diagram. There are 10 days of atonements. Since there are only 5 seals on that generation represented by the temple, so let us count now. So the first seal, that is 1843. That is 1833. 1834. The first seal, October 10, 1833 to October 10, 1834. That is the first seal. So that 2 atonements, remember, the work of Jesus Christ at that time is blotting. So, for example, October 10, 1833, then October 10, 1834, all the names of the wicked under the first seal had been blotted. So that is the statement. So then, second seal, October 10, 1835 to October 10, 1836. I'm dealing Bible calendar, but there is an equivalent of Gregorian calendar. You can see the color red. October 10, 1835 to October 10, 1836, all the names of the wicked under the second seal had been blotted. Then October 10, 1837, October 10, 1838, all the names of the wicked under the third seal had been blotted. Then, October 10, 1839 to October 10, 1840, all the names of the wicked under the fourth seal had been blotted. Then, October 10, 1841 to 1842. Yeah. So, October 10, 1841 to October 10, 1842, fifth seal, all the names of the wicked under the fifth seal had been completely blotted. So, there is 1 year remaining. That 1 year remaining is blotting out all the names, both the names of the righteous and the names of the wicked in the book represented by the net. The net must be empty. Why? Because the net will be used again to inscribe all the names under the sixth seal, both bad fish and good fish. Brothers and sisters, must be inscribed into that book. So, what happened to the names of the righteous that had been blotted out in the book represented by the net? In the church, that the harvest is come and that he is about to cast out the bad fish and transfer the good fish into the vessels. So, what is the procedure in the heavenly sanctuary? After the names of the righteous had been blotted out, erased in the book represented by the net, it is transferred into vessels. And since that is, brothers and sisters, 5 seals, so there are 5 vessels. The vessel that pertains to the first seal, second seal, third seal, fourth seal, and fifth seal. But there is a statement says, put into one vessel. So the one vessel must be represented by the temple. Right, brothers and sisters? Now, I would like to read that statement. Put into one vessel. Remember, brothers and sisters, vessel and barn, according to the voice of inspiration, it is a clean state. So, although it is applied during the altar, but we know that there is only one procedure. According to 2SR 238, it says, it will be noticed, the Lord said, put them in one vessel. So, 1SR 121, it will be noticed, the Lord said, put them in one vessel. When? Brothers and sisters, that is at the end of the 2,300 years. He did not say in 2 or more, but in one. So put them in one vessel. So from vessels to one vessel. Right, brothers and sisters? And, of course, that is applied only to the temple, because the temple, there are 5 seals. But the altar is only one vessel, 6 seal. As well as the worshiper is only one vessel. No need to say, put them into one vessel, because there is only one vessel. So that statement, from vessels to one vessel, must be applied only to the constituent represented by the temple. Right? Brothers and sisters. Now, Therefore, in October 22, 1844, the entire constituent, brothers and sisters, represented by the temple, it was put into one vessel. Meaning, it was already gathered. Now, I would like to read in tract number 8. On page, tract number 8 on page 92. Inasmuch as both the field with the wheat and tares, Matthew 13 verse 30, and the net with the good and bad fish, Matthew 13 verse 47, 48, represent the gospel church during the period in which the saints and the hypocrites are commingled, then the vessels into which the good fish are placed after the bad are cast away from among them, and the barn into which the wheat is placed after the tares are separated from it, must necessarily represent the church passing from its unclean state, field or net, into another, its purified state, which is symbolized not by the field or by the net, but rather by a barn and by vessels, a new place, safe and clean, where henceforth there shall no more come the uncircumcised and the unclean. Isaiah 52 verse 1. So tract number 8, page 92. So both of them, vessels and barn, there would be no names of the wicked to be inscribed into that book. Brothers and sisters, no names of the wicked that is allowed to enter into the pages of that book, because that is purified state. Vessels and as well as barn, according to the shepherd's rod. But that is only a parable. The actual occurrences takes place in the heavenly sanctuary. The book represented by the vessels and the book represented by the barn, all of them are righteous. Brothers and sisters, the barn is illustrated by the wheat and tares. That the wheat is gathered into the barn, or from this book represented by the field. This is the book represented by the field. The wheat will be blotted out in this book and then transferred to the book represented by the barn. Right, brothers and sisters? But, brothers and sisters, the names of the wicked will be gathered only into bundles, but they will remain into this field, the book represented by the field. So, the statement in White House Recruiter, page 20, is reality. That Heaven's book deals with all aspects of life. Now, let us go back to our subject, the 40 typical days. Look at, brothers and sisters, would you think it is just a mere happenstance that from crucifixion, I would like to, resurrection rather, tract number 3, page 86, the 40 days, Acts chapter 1 verse 3 and 9, from the resurrection to the ascension, are consequently typical of the period from 1844 Now, let us illustrate, brothers and sisters, the statement. When was Jesus Christ was resurrected? April 18, 31 AD. April 18, 31 AD. So this is April 18, 31 AD. Resurrection. So Jesus Christ was resurrected. Resurrection of Jesus. And it says, typical. 40 days to the period of the commencement of the judgment in October 22, 1844. From April 18, 31 AD to October 22, 1844, it is not 40 years. Right? Neither it is not 400 years. Neither it is not 4,000 years. But what does it mean by 40 days? Look at April 18. We have 18. April 18. October 22. 18 plus 22 equals 40. You see, brothers and sisters, it was predicted beforehand that the commencement of the judgment in the most holy place, in the heavenly sanctuary, must be October 22. Because that is the only number to be added to number 18 to make it 40. It cannot be October 23, then it will become 41. It cannot be October 21, then it must be 39. There is no other date. Brothers and sisters, to match up April 18 to make it 40, except number 22, and that is October 22. You see, brothers and sisters, the statement given by the shepherd's rod that the 40 days are typical of what? Of the ingathering of the saints in all generation. How many days the 120 disciples had been gathered? 40 days. Literal. But we are talking about figurative and symbolical. Therefore, in October 22, 1844, the first 5 seals had been gathered, brothers and sisters, into one vessel. So let us put here, one vessel. They have been gathered into one vessel. So that is the first ingathering of the saints. Because the 40 typical days, the 40 days is typical of all the ingathering of the saints, brothers and sisters. But how many saints? Brothers and sisters, how many? Temple, altar, and worshippers. But what is the focal point? The particular object in view. It is the 144,000 because the statement says, from crucifixion to the ingathering of the 144,000. Right, brothers and sisters? Now, let us read track number 5. Page 74. It says, in track number 3, the harvest, the time from the baptism of Christ to the close of provision, is shown to be illustrated by 12 figurative months, 6 from Christ's baptism to his crucifixion, 5 from the crucifixion to the ingathering of the first fruits, the 144,000, Revelation 14 verse 4. So how does the ingathering of the 144,000 was illustrated. First, by 40 typical days. Second, by 5 figurative months. So, there are now 2 angles that have been given by the voice of inspiration to ascertain clearly when would be the exact time of the ingathering of the 144,000 living saints. So, we will continue the subject, brothers and sisters, and hoping that God would always help us and enlighten us and give us heavenly wisdom and knowledge and zeal. The most important is the zeal of the Lord shall perform this. Isaiah 9 verse 7. So to repeat again, brothers and sisters, it is a very wonderful prophecy, the entire plan of redemption, from the crucifixion down to the general close of provision. It is completely revealed, brothers and sisters, in different, diverse ways. How many diverse ways? 9. Why is it that there are 9 that had been mentioned in 1SR Packet Edition, page 37? I would like to enumerate one by one again. 1SR Packet Edition, page 37, that the Bible reveals its tremendous truths in diverse ways. Then let us enumerate one by one. Number 1, numerics. Number 2, symbols. Number 3, figures. Number 4, parables. Number 5, allegories. Number 6, dreams. Number 7, visions. Number 8, types. And number 9, providences. So there are 9 diverse ways by which God reveals the plan of redemption recorded in the Bible in tremendous ways. 9. Why 9? 9 is the reverse of number 6, right? If you will reverse 9, it is number 6. Now let me read to you 2SR on page 25. 2SR page 25. It says, at this point, we draw the reader's attention to the chart on page 22. Take notice of the infinite wisdom used to devise the picture of the great sacrifice, the cross, for human beings, which is an evidence of boundless love divine. Note first that the hand on the clock dial made its round 3 times. So it says 3 times. Mark that each event was 3 hours apart. Then it says 3 times 9. So what is the answer? 3 times 9? 27. And 6 times 12? 72. 27 plus 72? 99. Making the cross. You see, brothers and sisters? 99. Making the cross. You only need 1 to become 100, right? 100 is pointing to the entire universe. 88 constellations plus 12 planets in the solar system. 100 all in all. And you can find also that in the parable of Jesus Christ, that Jesus Christ left the 99 and sacrificed his life into the one planet that had been fallen into sin. He abandoned the 99. the 88 constellations, and the 11 planets, and then came to this earth, sacrificed his life. It says, making the cross. 3 times 9 equals 27, and 6 times 12 equals 72. 27 plus 72, that is 99. So there are two, number 9. Now I would like to read to you this reading, although we'll continue in our next episode. 2SR page 237. 2SR 237. Let us read the statement. Let us examine the evidence from another angle. The first man that sinned is called the first Adam. Now look at the clock dial from the 3rd hour in the dark part, fall of Adam, opposite to the 3rd hour in the light part, and we see the second Adam, Christ crucified. Again, look at the 6th hour in the dark part of the clock dial, Enoch prophesying of the coming of Christ, opposite to the 6th hour of the light part, and there we see Miller also prophesying of the same event, coming of Christ. This is one of the reasons why God allowed Miller to proclaim the coming of Christ in 1844. Now look at the 9th hour. So 9th hour, Noah predicting the end of the world in his generation. And opposite to the 9th hour, in the light part, we see Elijah White prophesying of the end of the world in this generation. And that is where this generation began. So, you see, brothers and sisters, who have been called at the 9th hour in the night time? Noah. Who are they that had been called at the 9th hour during the daylight? Elijah White. So we have the two number 9 is Noah and the Seventh-day Adventist Church, or Sister White. So that is type and antitype. So when does the generation began? 1844. It says, and that is where this generation began. That was in 1844, brothers and sisters. The generation began in the year 1844. But what generation? Brothers and sisters. So, it is very important to understand that the entire plan of redemption was rebuilt by God through the sanctuary construction and service from October 22, 1844 onwards, and October 22, 1844 backward down to the crucifixion. From 31 AD to October 22, 1844, then 1844 up to 2024. Now this is the last part, and we'll continue on our next episode. In 2SR, let's read 2SR page 233. It says, mark the following point with care. From the 9th hour in 1844 to the 12th, or close of provision, there are only 3 full hours. So, I would like to repeat again, brothers and sisters, only in the 9th hour call that you can read the statement 3 full hours. In the first call, second, third, there is no such statement saying 3 full hours. Why? Because only in 1844, we can apply the divine principle 3 full hours. How many minutes in 1 hour? 60. So 3 times 60 equals 180. Now, if you will add 1844 plus 180, then we have 4, then 12, then 0, 2024. Therefore, in 2024, that is the entire ministration of Jesus Christ in the heavenly sanctuary. 2024, all the judicial tribunal will vacate the heavenly sanctuary and probation will close. Because it was predicted beforehand that there must be only 180 years. What is the 180 years? That is 3 full hours. And 1 hour, there are 60 minutes. 3 times 60 equals 180. And besides, this number 180 is the age of Isaac when Isaac died. And according to Sister White and B.T. Hotep, Isaac is a type of the work of Christ. So let us read 1 SR, page 15. In volume 3, page 369, hoping that you could see that diagram concerning Isaac 1844. In volume 3, page 369, we read, Isaac was a figure of the Son of God, who was offered a sacrifice for the sins of the world. Again, we read in Desire of Ages, page 112, and in the ram divinely provided in the place of Isaac, Abraham saw a symbol of him who was to die for the sins of men. Thus Isaac and the ram are symbols of Christ's submission, death, and sacrifice. 1 SR, page 15 and page 16. So, that is very plain, brothers and sisters, that the life of Isaac represent or typify Jesus Christ. So, you can see that diagram. 3 full hours times 60 minutes equals 180 or 180 years from 1844 up to the year 2024. Brothers and sisters. And you think that is just a mere happenstance? What is the age of Isaac when Isaac was offered? Isaac was 17 years old. What is the age of Sister White when God raised up Sister White in 1844? Sister White was also 17 years old. So, it cannot be mistaken, brothers and sisters, that such symbolization, 180 years, brothers and sisters, is represented by the entire proceedings in the heavenly sanctuary. Now, so we will continue our subject on our next episode, brothers and sisters. And I have not been even noticed that I think it's already more than 2 hours. So, thank you very much for listening and viewing this program. There are a lot of subjects need to be considered, but I'm just trying to focus to the most important part to establish our faith firmly concerning the. So, thank you very much for listening and viewing this program. May the good Lord bless you and have a beautiful, wonderful evening.